Right, so I'm just going to do a quick video. I just played a solo game on Erangel and did pretty well considering where I dropped and how I played. So I'm just going to fast forward through the highlights of this video. I'm using the new replay mode, so I'm just playing around with it a bit. Thought I might as well record the video. Show how it goes. So I eject above Pachinki, and let me just scan. Let's see how many people are dropping. I'd say around 20 people dropped here, maybe 15, a bit lower than that. We all dropped Pachinki, parachuting. It's a pretty standard game in the beginning, but the loot I get helps out significantly. I'll show the looting process in a moment. I'll probably fast forward through the more boring portions of this video after the looting stage is complete, but I get into some fights pretty quickly, so for the beginning of the game I'm just going to let it run. Keep my mouth shut and I'll let you enjoy. So, as you might have gathered, very lucky to come out of that fight intact, but just managed to ping him off with just a little help left. And I come out with a UMP. Not entirely sure if it had any attachments on it at this point. I believe it may have had a couple. But this is quite key early on. I find a second UMP and decide to roll with it, given the absence of any other decent guns. So I lock and load them. Have no real meds at this point. At least not that I was aware of. I believe at one point I pick up 2 first aid kits in quick succession and then promptly forget about them. I believe there's one more key fight that occurs in Pachinki. I'll skip over the rest of the video in between and we'll see how it goes. As you can see, Pachinki is still very full. Plenty of fights kicking off. Red zone appears near Pachinki. A bit of audio obstruction, but nothing too significant. A little bit of a camera bug there. As always, try to use the audio cover from a plane or a red zone to the best of your advantage. For me, it was just cutting a little time out there, vaulting through a window. Now at this point I believe I was still scavenging for meds until I realised I'd come across a first aid kit a moment ago that I believe I may have cut out with my shoddy camera work. Yes, that's the second one. The smashing of the window alerts me to Pop's presence over there, who's already aware of mine after I jumped into this building. So I'm just gearing up for a fight now. Now I was quite fortunate I didn't decide to round that corner while he's watching the angle I'm on. He decides to jump out, investigate, and that is what lands him in a world of trouble. If he hadn't have done, he could easily have followed me down and probably ruined my entire existence. You can see he's still very intent on chasing me down. You can just hear my footsteps from across the road, I believe. Just scanning the general area. I'm still not entirely aware that he's after me at this point. I lie down and use the scummiest third-person tactic on the go. Hopka again very close to bringing about my demise. Now he's aware that I'm still nearby. It's very much a game of cat and mouse at this point. But Popka very cautious to round the corner. Now from here, I hear him around the edge of the building. Decide I don't want to get trapped upstairs and jump out. See Popka briefly. Now what Popka doesn't know is that I have 2 UMPs. I believe he has a Scar L and an M4. Allowing me to do that. Shoddy aim on both parts. I believe the bush I was hiding behind may have helped throw his aim off from a headshot a little, which would probably have killed me. But after this fight, I checked the status of my armour, and the real reason I survived that is because he only hit me in the chest once. My helmet was completely undamaged, meaning he probably shot me in the legs a lot while I was crouched. And the 50% damage reduction saved my life, clearly. So nothing much happens from this point onward. I bandage myself up, and the zone begins to close in around Sosnovka Island. So I'm going to transition the recording here to the point later on where I cross over to the mill base, and I believe it's 2 circles from the final circle where I actually have my next kill. Okay, so here I'm approaching the 3rd or perhaps 2nd to last circle. I've decided, given the cover that's afforded by the next circle, I'm going to go for the buildings down here. I'm very lucky in that I bypassed Shav with no incident and don't go into the building with last cloudation inside. I have no idea he's there for a good amount of time. If I'd have rounded this a little bit more slowly, I probably would have died. Shav wasn't looking for a fight, fortunately, and being in a buggy probably saved my life there. That and the fact I made myself sharpish. I believe Shav has an assault rifle, a Mini 14, and a suppressed M4. There's not much I would have been able to do in that situation. So I'm just clearing the building here, luck alone, saving my life at that point. And having done 1 or 2 other final circles here before, I realised that it's a decent building to hold, but given its entrances and windows, you have to be very careful that no one's encroaching on the complex nearby. So I see the UAZ, I realise there's at least one other player here, and I become increasingly suspicious of the building that Cloudation is presently inside of. Shav actually approached the building. This is not something I was aware of at the time. which is quite concerning. He could easily have pinged me through a window had I been stood in the wrong spot at the wrong time. I'm actually going to follow him for a moment because I don't really get up to much whilst inside the building. I believe Shav, if memory serves, actually went into the second building. Or the players behind him did. I remember I had no idea Cloudation was in that building. I couldn't hear him until he got into a scrap with another player. I believe that may be Shav. I'll just check in on myself for a moment. Yep, still sat tight. The other players encroaching there. And we see Shav approaches this building. Again, luck saving my life. I believe he may have been looking for an angle on me here, but failing to do so, decided to scout the building out. And Cloudation takes out Shav. Now, I believe that Cloudation is in that building, and what gives him away here is you see our third-person spectate and see that there's a bullet hole in the window room there, and then that forces me to spectate the building. And I confirm my suspicions when in a moment he peeks through the rightmost window, I believe, and I just catch the barrel of his gun protruding. There we go. Now I try to take shots relatively soon. I believe he's actually coming my way here. I don't realise he's looting a corpse. So I'm preparing to wait for him to enter. Aspect takes shots but fails to bring about Cloudation's demise. And another fight kicks off presently. Oh, and Aspect actually takes out Cloudation. So at this point I'm unaware that the two players have swapped. I throw a grenade at Aspect, but it overshoots drastically. Had I cooked it, that would have been an easy kill. And now Aspect, alert to my position, moves into the building. I take a shot, but try to lean out of the window without realising I don't have enough clearance to do so. So now me and Aspect are locked in a tense firefight. Neither of us know which window we're going to peek. I attempt to get a grenade in there, but fail badly. So it becomes a round of gunplay. I believe I only have a stun and a smoke grenade at this point. So me and Aspect both pulling these scummy manoeuvres on one another, trying to third person peek the windows. Strange camera bug there. Don't believe that was happening at the time. Definitely not. I'm just going to have to third person that. Essentially I graze him once in one of these peaks. He shoots at me accurately there. So at the moment I do significant damage to him, but he grazes me a little, so I have to bandage up. I'm having a strange camera bug here where it's moving itself to the right on its own, which is unfortunate. There we are. So Aspect's just chilling, chugging some Red Bulls, trying to get his health back up. Now at this point, I decide the zone's about to come in. The zone favours me here, so I retreat out the front door and make a break for the zone, having died twice in a similar position where I waited for the zone before moving in, and this point on the map where there's no cover to hide behind really. So I make a bit of a dangerous dash in. Fortunately I realise there's only 4 players alive before doing so. So I sit, very anxious here in case someone with a sniper rifle may have seen me, but fortunately avoid detection. So now I am relatively safe to wait in this defilade here for Aspect to push in. And with the zone coming in 3 seconds, I know he has to make a move, and I know the general direction he's going to approach from. And just as expected, he rounds the corner and begins pushing towards me. Now the rationale here was to wait for him. I was under the impression he was going to dart directly in my direction, so I'd have a clean shot on him when he was maybe 10-15 metres away. I could have just auto-sprayed him down. However, what he actually did, might even add, was move around the edge of the circle, skim it a little, and take cover on the opposite side of the barriers, which is a better move than I decided to make in retrospect. I see that he's prone there, and I know he hasn't detected me, but I can't get a good angle on him that I'm sure I can kill him through. So instead, I pull the pin on a flash grenade and go in. A very sloppy kill, but it does the job. I failed to vault the fence and panicked a little, but managed to take him out. Now these two are about to engage in the second to last firefight, or they already have done. Bit of a failure there, but now it's just me and the last player. Acheron, one of the two. So I see him traversing. So I know he's behind those barrels, and I see his legs sticking out at the bottom. So I'm sure he's there. There are points at which I lose track of him whilst darting from one side of cover to the other. I attempt to vault onto here, thinking maybe I'll be able to get an angle over the top of it, but it doesn't let you vault up, only over. So I resign myself to the fact that this is probably going to come down to either who gets the zone or who has better gunplay. Throw a stun grenade, see if I can force him out of cover. There are two. I'm unaware of whether they actually hit the mark. Now what I could do here is scrub back through and see, but regardless of the outcome, it doesn't really matter at this point. So the zone closes in once again. Acheron has a Mark 14 and a Scar L. His mistake here is probably relying on the Mark 14 in a final circle. It's not really a gun suited for close quarters. The Scar L would have been a much better play. Darts between cover. I believe he's just trying to bait me out at this point. I don't even think he can see me well for the chain link fence. But he crawls up to cover, and this is without my knowledge. I believe he's still behind the barrel there, so it's a good play by Acheron there. Very much taking advantage of his defilade and his line of sight in the correct fashion. It's just as well that he did so, however, because at some point soon, yep, I peek for an extended period of time. Had he been stuck behind the barrels, he could probably have quickly leaned and bopped me. Right between the eyes. 2 shots from the Mark 14 would have been my demise there. Acheron's just watching patiently. I am at a loss as to why he didn't try and make a move here though, because the zone does not favour him next. At least not for using a Mark 14. So I move in, waiting for the zone to crush us into the centre. Acheron dies. Now I am going to just rewind that because I believe Acheron may have clipped my pan there. I also want to see things from his perspective. So let's see how he does. Is he using a magnification scope? Only a 2 times, so that's not too bad. Fails to land a single shot. The question is, was the pan clipped? Let's see. Get a final look from the outside. You see I run pointedly to the missile silos here. That's because they were the only real cover in the zone at that point. Any cover's better than no cover. I heard the sound of gunshot on metal. Must have been the barrels behind me. But yeah, quite a handy little win. Thought I'd just play around with the spectator mode a bit. Try and roll out some bog standard garbage content for you. As a matter of fact, he did clip my pan. R.I.P.